Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast, where each week we speak with brands, icons, innovators, and trailblazers within the fly fishing industry, exploring both the successes and failures they've encountered along the way to become who they are today. But first, if you have not yet subscribed to the podcast or joined our email list, please do so by going to the flyfisherinsiderpodcast.com, or you can also find us on Instagram at flyfisherinsiderpodcast. Now let's begin. Welcome to the Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. Today our guest is Jake Chutz. Jake is the National Sales Manager for Montana Fly Company. Montana Fly Company is a longtime fly provisioner within the industry. Montana Fly Company is known for its quality in flies, materials, and fly fishing accessories. Here today to tell us more about Montana Fly Company is Jake. Jake, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Greg. Glad to be here.
Yeah, we're excited as well. Montana Fly Company, a great brand. It's been around for a long time. But before we talk about the brand, let's talk about yourself and what your role is there and how you got introduced to Montana Fly Company and who is Jake Chutz.
Well, I appreciate that question. It's a long story. I'll try to keep it short. I ended up in the horse business after college, training horses and rocking all over the western states, ranch to ranch, property to property, and I ended up meeting up with a gentleman that used to write fishing shows for the American Sportsman and In Search of Flywater, Walker's Cay Chronicles, and he actually lived on the back 40 acres of a horse farm outside of Wichita for his wife.
Cool.
And she said, "Oh, you're going to love my husband. You guys will get along great. He's into fishing and hunting and all that stuff." So, I thought whatever, everybody is, right? But I got to meet Pat Smith, and we became good friends, and I realized how much of an integral part he was in the fly fishing business. So back in probably 2001, Pat brought me on a trip from the horse farm to the Henry's Fork in Island Park, Idaho. We spent 4 days there fishing together, and it was that very year I ended up telling his wife, who owned the horse farm, that I think I'm going to have a change of lifestyle. And that August moved up to Island Park and started guiding there the next year. So I spent 12 years in Island Park, Idaho, guiding the Henry's Fork, Yellowstone Park, Madison River, all the associated lakes and those drainages. And that was my history for a number of those years. And it was through the horse business and one relationship that I got there, which was pretty interesting. After about 12 years in IP, I came across a guy who became a very good friend of mine, who worked with Hardy North America. And he said that there was a little fly company by the name of Montana Fly that was looking for a sales manager. And I said, "Man, that sounds fantastic. I've never been a sales manager." And he said, "Don't worry, they've never had one. Let's give this thing a shot." His name was John Malovich, and he's been an excellent friend ever since. So that's the 3-minute vision on how I came to be with Montana Fly. That was in 2012. I better stop there, Greg, and let you steer me in the right direction.
You're the sales manager for Montana Fly Company. What is your role exactly? What do you oversee? Walk me through what your role is with this brand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My role here is, like any small to mid-sized company in the outdoor space, all of us here wear a number of kind of different hats and do a variety of things. My main position is to make sure I stay in good contact with our product offering and relating that information to our on-the-ground sales force, our independent sales reps, and of course the dealer base, to make sure everyone understands what we're doing and why we're doing it, also how we do it. Along with that, a lot of inventory control, and if nothing else, keeping my pulse on where we are in different product lines to make sure we're staying in stock on the right things at the right times. So that becomes also a pretty fun and interesting job while we roll through the different seasons. You have fly tying season. It ramps up towards the end of the year in the fall and cranks through the winter. And those orders slow down a touch in the spring as people take the flies they've tied and materials they've played with and start jumping out on the river, then the fly program really launches and gets crazy for us. It used to be June when the fly side of the world really cranked up, May, but now it's March. I think you have more
Yeah.
fisheries that are starting early, more tailwaters that have really marketed themselves as good early season fisheries. So the more we expand, I would say the less downtime there is, Greg.
Cool. I love it. So I want to ask you about the brand. For those that don't know, how old is the brand? Walk me through the brand itself, what you guys are focused on, how it got started. Take me back to who is Montana Fly Company.
Yeah, that's a really fun question for me to answer. I've been asked that question a lot. The cool thing about the Montana Fly Company brand is that it was started by a fishing guide about 21 years ago. I almost forget what year it is. Yeah, about 21 years ago. It was 1998. Adam Trina out of Missoula was a fishing guide there and going to school at University of Montana, and as he was considering what he wanted to do with the rest of his life, he talked to a few clients. He said, "Man, I just love tying flies, and I think it'd be really fun to sell flies." They hashed that idea around over a couple days on the river, and next thing you know, that was Adam's direction. And that started as a very small, pamphlet of available flies. Again, 21 years ago, and between he and his team over the years, that's grown
Hmm.
into, I think, a brand that has a degree of legitimacy based on the fact that the people involved, Adam, the founder, and the people that he's worked with and hired over the course of time to build out his team are people that really fish. Almost all of us have spent a number of years on the water guiding. So, understanding flies, understanding what makes a fly from us different, from a fly, different than a fly from another fly company. So I think that's part of what makes the brand, so special to us, so special to our loyal following, is saying that this brand fishes, this brand lives to fish and loves to fish. And that's kind of what makes us who we are.
I would definitely agree with that. So what would you guys say some of the focuses of the brand itself were in the early days?
The focus was just producing good flies at a good value, and that was back in the time that I wouldn't say there was a lot of design happening, of course, prior to 1998, but there's been obviously a big push to more kind of techie flies and technologically advanced flies than there was back then. So when the brand first started, I think it was kind of a work in progress. Again, started by a person just said, "I love to fish and type. I'd like to make a living doing this." Over the course
Hmm.
of time, the idea behind Montana Fly was to stay innovative in its designs. And being a very Western and specifically kind of Northwestern Rockies specific company, we ended up and as a company that had an excellent selection of high floating, techie and advanced flies in the design of foam. When it all the dry flies that we had, years ago,
Yeah.
and an excellent streamer assortment. So, hoppers, a lot of terrestrials, and things like that in the early days. And you can see that in our catalog now. Of course, we've expanded heavily in the line of tailwater dries and, thin, low profile tailwater nymphs. But the core of our brand in flies has always been kind of the attractor, the what's new and what's best in foam, dry, and streamer construction.
Be safe to say that that core and those core values are still transpiring to today's goal of the company as well. Is that safe to say?
I would say it's very safe to say, and as anyone in any business knows, you roll that 10 years, 20 years down the road, the day to day happens, and you're looking for expansion
Hmm.
in this realm or growth on this level, reaching into different product categories and adding different product lines. We try regularly to stay, I would say, to get together and kind of refocus and make sure that we're staying focused on what that core is. So to your earlier question, the core for us is still a high quality, innovative book of flies that we can offer to our dealer base, which services everyone, hopefully listening to this podcast, with a value in that product as well.
Hmm. Absolutely. I do want to shift to today's time, and here's you mentioned you have other products. What other products are you guys currently offering?
Well, we a variety, right? We've moved into over the years retail materials and fly fishing accessories, as you had mentioned. One of the most successful innovations we've had was taking a large scale fly box that's known as our boat box and make that can
Yes.
withstand the daily beatings of an angler that's out on the water a lot, in a boat a lot, and or people that are guiding part time or full time. So we went to the drawing board. That was probably drawing board of it was probably 2010. It's still one of our couple best selling fly boxes. We have a few colors of it, but that is an ABS plastic, which was the first time that a large scale fly box like that was built in ABS. So extremely tough, rugged. You can crush it in and out of the back of your truck and the boat. Make sure it doesn't crack and break. We put a waterproof seal on it, which was also a first of its kind. Where if you're crashing through white water, you're not filling your fly box full of water. It floats if it dumps out the side of the boat, things like that. And that's the idea behind how we like to bring out new products. It takes us time, but when we launch a new accessory like that, we want it to be the very best that we can make it when it hits the ground.
With your boat boxes, have you guys? I know have you done any collabs with any artists or any anything like that?
We've thought about that quite a lot. And to your earlier question on, tell me a little bit about some of what you guys have done. We'll flip to the Montana Fly Company polyboxes in a second, where we utilize a lot of our artists in our printing. Uh,
Hmm.
Currently, we don't have a printing process that works well with ABS, so we decided to leave the boat box alone. It's so tough in the material that we're currently using, that ABS. We didn't want to alter that in any way. Although we'd love to have some art on those boxes, it hasn't worked for us yet, but that's something we're still considering.
I hear you. You know what? Stickers work just as good too. So,
Exactly,
so
exactly. Yeah,
you did mention about the other ones that you did do collabs with. Let's talk about a bit about the collabs in your boxes, because again, that's a familiar sight. Again, many of the listeners are used to seeing as well. Let's talk about that. Who have you worked with, and what are some of the collabs you're currently doing, or you have coming down the pipe?
yeah, that's a fun one. That's a fun one as well. Part of what makes Montana Fly Company what it is are the collaborations we've had, specifically with our artists in all of the what we've called for years river camo accessories. So anything we can print. Um, we've spent a lot of time understanding how to correctly and cleanly print, uh, pretty fun fish art on different types of accessories, which is not something that's easy to do. But that's allowed us to take people all over, the industry that that draw, that paint, that sketch, whatever it is, and help put that art into something that all of us as anglers use every day. So if you have a fly box, why not have one with the huge rainbow trout head on it, painted by Burn Sundell, or a big cutthroat painted by AD Maddox. We have a variety of fantastic artists. Those are just to name a couple. I don't have time to name all of them, but Burn Sundell, AD Maddox,
Hmm.
Josh Udison, Jeff Courier, Travis Sylvester's been with us a long time. We have a beautiful new carp with huge lips hanging out by Ty Halleck. His stuff's been very popular. Eric Estrada's kind of graffiti style has been excellent. The list goes on and on of what we do and who we do it with. But the collaboration there has been fun because
Absolutely.
we're able to tie our brand together with something that you can't see from anybody else. Whether it's on a sweet insulated coffee mug that you're cruising with in the morning, or your fly box, or the tool that's hanging off of your lamp.
Yeah, I mean, they're just beautiful, and like you said, the artwork is good. Now, is there a cause usually behind that? Is there a funding going towards that, like a cause or an awareness that you're getting behind or supporting when you do an art collab, or is it just industry awareness?
To make sure I understand the question, meaning why do we do it, or what was the cause in the first place?
Why do you do it? Why do you guys do a collab? Is it for like to raise money for a certain project or a certain focus, or that the company's behind or backing?
No, it's not currently, and that's been something that's been on our radar for I would say a number of years now. We'd love to get into something where we can give back to the community, whether it's cold water conservation or public land access awareness, public land issues, whether it's
Hmm.
other environmental issues that kind of circle back into all aspects of the outdoors. That's something that's on the tip of our fingers of what we want to do with, but we haven't worked on that level yet. The original collaboration was kind of working with these artists. I wouldn't say in their infancies in any way, because we have different artists in different parts of their careers. Us, an ability to put something way cool and different in
Of
front of the
course, yeah.
consumer that they have not seen before, and it also offers a really nice or a great ability for the artist to have us push their name and their brand throughout our following, whether it's dealer base or our loyal followers on Facebook or Instagram. It's been really fun to watch the careers of the artists kind of blow up at certain times based on the products that we put out. And it's amazing to see how many people say, "Oh my gosh, I love your stuff." Josh or AD or whoever it is. I saw it in a fly shop somewhere. I saw it on a coffee mug. A gallon of boat ramp had, a
Hmm.
flask at the end of the day that had your fish head on it or whatever. That's been really fun for us and very beneficial for the artists as
I
well.
agree. I'm one of those people that have watched the progression of that artwork and watched the artist explode, basically due to the collaboration with you guys. So, I do want to kind of shift as well to the materials and the fly tying materials itself. Talk to us about that. What are you guys offering? Is it custom branded? Do you work with do you source products? Do you have products brought to you, or like just tell us all about the materials?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Our material division started out and for a long time kind of operated as a side item to the fly category, giving you quite a bit of insight on the history of our materials category. And we just started offering materials that we used on the flies on our fly factory level, and saying, "Oh, let's throw these in a package and make sure that our customers have the ability to buy this stuff from us." What we found over the years was not being a company that had all products available at all times. So we didn't have all the dubbings, all the foams, the go-to company for your average and basic fly tying material.
Hmm.
But over the course of time, we decided to steer that in a direction of innovation. We said, what is it about our fly program that really works well, and how do we apply that to the materials division? So we started looking into a variety of products that, again, you couldn't get in the same way as you could from other companies. And those are exactly the materials for us that have been extremely successful. So to give you a few examples, our barred feather products are by far our best sellers. Our barred centipede legs, or really, rubber legs with barring on it, is another
Yeah.
huge seller for us. So when we took something that we do better than anybody else and applied that to a material, the sales skyrocketed. So it shows us that people look to Montana Fly Company not only for some good basic core items, but also for what are they doing that's different from everybody. So you look at our barred schlappen, our barred marabous, our barred buggerboos. You have different size barrings. Those are the sorts of products that really work well for us.
What are you guys doing different than everybody else? And having that uniqueness definitely is going to drive traffic your way as well. So, with that said, generally, in general, what is Montana Fly Company doing different than, say, the competitors on a business level?
That's a great question. I can only answer that partly because, of course, there's some little bit of secrecy there, some trade secret, and some processes that we have that we can't really share. How we do what we do. I should say we also partner with the barring and those products, but I also should say that we have partnered with a couple of great groups. So we have a partnership with a group that builds what we call our MFC fish flash. That's been excellent. So it's a flash product. And your question was, what do we do that's different from others? Everyone has crystal flash. Everyone has some sort of a
Hmm.
flashaboo flash. So we found a company that actually approached us and said, "Hey, I have this cool flash that I can blend colors on, and I have a supporting fiber within this flash. Let me send you some samples." So when we took a look at this stuff, you hold it out, 4 inches of it from your fingers in a nice bunch. It sticks out straight like a paintbrush. so it doesn't flop. It's not always wrapped around your hook, but when it hits the water and you move it, it moves like marabou. So that's been another great seller for us. So I think the story there,
Just so the listeners are aware, what's that product called?
yeah, that's called MFC Fish Flash.
Perfect.
Ton of different colors. We blend it and have multiple blends of different colors that we offer. It's a really fun and product to fish, but also to tie with. It's very easy to tie with. You know, wings, tails, blend it with marabou. You know, twist it up however you want. We wrap bodies with it. We have guys tying chironomids with, you know, they're getting six flies per strand. You know,
Yeah.
different uses. But again, it was finding a difference in the flash that was on the market and saying, how can we do something that is better and different, behaves differently, and you know, because it behaves differently, of course, we believe that it fishes different, and that's that. Yes, I think that's where we find our successes is taking our time, understanding a product and how it's slightly different or you know, very different from what else is out there.
So with all the success, there must have been some failures, right? Or some learning curves or roadblocks. Can you think of any roadblocks from the past that you guys have either overcome or you're currently still facing?
No, we've never had any failures in 21 years. Absolutely. I mean, anyone that knows anything about fly production, and I think that that's a big question that you just asked, and it's a really important one because it's,
Just a few highlights. How about that?
yeah, absolutely. I'll give you a few highlights, but it's really important. Obviously, everyone has failures. Every company has failures, but how we learn from those is going to be the key. So, if you were to look at the retail material division, I would say in some ways we offered a variety of things, and we put money behind things that were not different in any way from the competition. So that would be, I would consider that, you know, a failure. And
Hmm.
we realized that, saw that, and then of course moved into a direction of more innovation, which we had just talked about.
Yeah.
The accessory program, there was a huge learning curve in the printing process and how the products are printed. The types of processes that go into that printing can alter the form of products. So there's really on the production side, there's a lot of room for error there, and it forces us to continually tighten up on everything that we do and how we do it with the printing of our accessories. The fly category for us, Greg, is still, I would say, by far the largest segment and the very core of our business and who we are. That could go on for, that's another podcast in itself. But that area there lends itself to making sure we watch failures, how we produce flies, when we produce them, making sure we have exactly what we need. You know, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months in advance, sometimes a year in advance to make sure that we're able to meet the demand of the anglers across the globe. So yeah, we've had a number of failures over the years, and we just try to keep a close eye on what those
Hmm.
are, what they were in the past, and make sure that we try to continually do a little bit better every day.
What would you say the industry is saying about Montana Fly Company in general? What's the general consensus?
That's part of my job as well, is to make sure that we're up to date on you know, where we stack up against competition,
Hmm.
what consumers are saying about our products, and what the insiders in the industry are saying about our business. So right now, I think the feel of the brand is very good. Our quality is as good as it has been in 20 years, and the delivery to our dealer base over the last couple of years has been better than I would say probably in about 10 years. So, you know, kind of speaking back to your last question about, you know, failures, again, we don't want to dwell on them, but we want to watch what those are and were on a daily basis to make sure that we continually do a better job delivering a better quality product every year. So I think that the overall industry's view of us right now is very strong. It's a brand that's growing. It's a business that's growing, and the flies are, you know, are being delivered into the fly shops.
Yeah, I would support that definitely. I think you guys are a great brand, and definitely behind it. So I know we talked, or you mentioned a bit about supporting your dealers and that you are a global brand. How many countries are you involved with right now, or shipping to?
Yeah, we currently work with distributors all over the world, specifically New Zealand, Australia, all over Western Europe, of course, all over Canada. We do a variety of shops
Hmm.
into South America, South Africa. We've had our products and flies, into the Eastern Europe, all throughout Russia. So it's been the UK as well. So that's been a lot to manage over time, but it's given us a lot of brand awareness in a lot of different markets, which has been great for us.
Which actually leads me to my next question. So, do you find there's trends in flies, or is it pretty much consistent year round? Like, is there a trend like in Eastern Russia, this particular fly that it's popular in America jumps up in Russia or something like that? You know what I mean? You know, there's always that hot fly or that new trend in fly fishing where this specific pattern. Do you find that's localized or do you find it's globalized?
I would say it's both, and I think the competition aspect of the business has really kind of put a push to some of those trends. That's a good question because all of the places we mentioned, let's say specifically South Africa, Western Europe, uh, and then into Eastern Europe, these are the places that are kind of pushing the envelope
Yeah.
into the new comp style of fly. That's very kind of weight and kind of bead size slash weight of the fly specific. Um, Overall, very thin profiles, little trigger points here and there. That's a category that we were a touch slow to move into, that we're moving into pretty heavily right now. But that was a heavy trend set from the European side in the competition angling. On the West side, I would say that the U.S. is
Exactly.
predominantly,
Yeah.
the force behind a tractor dry fly and tailwater dry fly design. The majority of that comes out of the US. Your non-competition style flies, again, predominantly, at least for us and other fly companies that we've seen globally, come out of the US. As you know, very specific styles of flies that came out of the UK. So you can see regional differences in overall style. But I would say that the U.S. drives kind of the general fly fishing design, and Europe so far and South Africa have driven the competition design. So that was a winded way to answer your question, but I wouldn't say it's as much. We have, of course, seasonal demands for dry flies versus nymphs versus streamers, midges versus stoneflies. But there definitely are trends in flies, and I wouldn't say they push different angles or in different directions annually, but over a course of time, they definitely change. So if you look at now versus 10, 15 years ago, look at the streamer game, right? Who was really fishing streamers 10 and 15 years ago? There was kind of a mystification around how to even do it. So most people didn't. And now everyone's
Oh,
talking about streamers and
yeah.
tying bigger flies and, you know, everything's about, big meat and looking for big fish. And over the last 5 to 6 years, that's really become much more popular and much more part of everyone's fly box. We're starting to see that shrink back down again. And I'll give you a quick example. If you look at Kelly Gallup's assortment, he's been with us now for,
Hmm.
this is year 4. One of the most forward-thinking fly designers that I've ever met, and I would say as a group that we've ever met. His designs have always been, substantial size fly compared to what we've seen in the past in the streamer world. Ton of traction all over the globe with his flies. In the last couple of years, we've worked together with Kelly to shrink some of these down into what we're considering kind of a mini version of them, and that's been super successful. So it's a fly that everyone can throw. It's a fly that fish, let's say it in a different way. At the end of the day, if you're fishing big streamers, out of a standard on a standard guide boat, for example, and you say, "Oh man, we got 3 fish and moved 5 others," by shrinking that fly down, it's a little bit more palatable to more of those fish. So we have a lot of people coming back to us saying, we've loved Kelly's Dungeon for years. We've caught a ton of big fish on it. But now we're fishing almost exclusively the mini dungeon because it's a little smaller, a little easier to cast, and some of those followers are now actually eating that fly versus just the follow. So I think having seeing that's another trend within the streamer world, but it shows that we do ebb and flow and progress over the course of time. What style of fishing, what style of fly, and what size, range, and how do we fish those flies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a chronomid fisher, so I'm pretty we're pretty small flies up here, that's for sure. So for the Stillwater.
Absolutely. I was able for the first time last spring to drive up to your neck of the woods and fish with two of our excellent partners, Brian Chan and Phil Rowley.
Yes.
Stillwater's up there, and we had an absolute blast. I didn't know you could get a drift on a lake, but they said, of course, if it's windy, you're getting a drift. So set yourself up in the right way to be successful. But that was not that you're asking about chronometer fishing, but we had a blast.
No, it definitely, and Brian's a great guy, so absolutely. So, you know what? Let's talk about that. How let's talk about like your designers and how you reach out, and are they pro staff? Are they ambassadors? How, like, who are they, and how do the people get involved with Montana Fly Company in that regards?
Yeah, that's ever evolving, kind of how we work with our designers, what they want from us, what we
Hmm.
want from them. It's an evolving relationship that we really enjoy. Historically, we've said, if you have fly, out to kind of the general public, if you guys have flies that you find have been very or have found to be very successful for you, predominantly these are coming from fishing guides that spend a lot of time on the water fishing these patterns. If you've found patterns that have been very successful for you and you're interested in having them thrown into our catalog, give us a call, send a few samples to our office. That's how it started, and then over the course of time, as we've grown and the brand's gotten, has gotten a little bit bigger and more understood by people. We have designers also coming to us saying, "Hey, we'd love to be a part of your team," and of course, we have outreach to say, "Hey, we love your flies, and we'd love you to be a part of our team." But we're continually learning how to understand the partnerships and how we can better them, and also oftentimes better implement our ideas on partnering with our design team. But definitely ambassadors. They use our materials. They're giving us feedback on the flies, construction quality, material use on the flies, and then letting people know what Montana Fly does and the fact that their flies are with us.
Yeah. To follow that up, would you guys search the depths of Instagram, no doubt, and find tires and find their followings and look at their flies? Like, would that be one of the ways that you guys search people out? And if so, do you find that's a useful tactic for your business?
That's a good question. We do keep a close eye on what's going on in the industry and with fly trend through
Hmm.
social media channels. And your question about trend earlier, a lot of that has to do with making sure that we're keeping an eye on what's out there, what people are getting excited about. And we have not done much outreach via social media to find patterns. We do have a lot of people that are designing flies. We're often throwing material packages out there to people that are doing tying videos and clinics and schools and how to's. We love to support those people and their followers with retail materials from us that allows us to see some traction
Hmm.
through their following on our brand and what we do. So I wouldn't say that we've mined designers from our pulse on social media, but it's been
Hmm.
a great place to distribute the awareness of the brand with a variety of fly tires, all over the place. And we have had a lot of people come to us via those channels to say, "Hey, guys all over, are you interested in taking a look at my flies?" And of course, we always look. We never say no.
I like that. That's good. At least you're providing an honest feedback to to that tire, right? So, or super important. So great on you guys for that. So,
Absolutely.
I just want to ask you. So, what are some goals going forward for the brand? We talked about a few things earlier, but what are some goals going forward? Where do you see the brand in, say, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and what's next?
Yeah, there's a lot there. We have some great innovations coming out in the accessories category, pushing forward some of the ideas that have been working for us for the last 5 to 10 years to expand those into new places. And I'd say on the fly side, we're definitely looking to push that envelope a long way, not only with patterns, but continuing to expand our dealer base and our support of that dealer base. So I think to that question, where we see ourselves in 5 to 10 years is staying very focused on making sure that we're supporting who supports us. And right now, that's truly, the fly shop world, fly shop owners all over the country that say we love what Montana Fly does. We want to make sure that we're offering them the best flies, making sure we have the flies they want when they need it. And I think that's going to continue to propel us towards the top manufacturer of quality flies.
So Jake, what in the accessory? Let's go back to the accessory world here. I'm trying to pull it out of you. What do you see as the next goal or the next step? Like, do you like getting into more tying tools? Like walk us through.
I think for us, there's a variety of places to go, but I think fly storage, which would be the fly box realm, it's right inside of our wheelhouse. So continuing to look at materials uh, that we can put artwork on, or that are lighter weight, whether it has artwork or not. Better ways to secure flies, better ways to sort that keep flies sorted. I know you're trying to pull out some detail from me, but we have such a wide variety of flies, from size 20 and 22 bead ed nymphs to 5/0 streamers, whether for trout, muskie, pike. Making sure that we stay very
Yeah.
relevant on how we store those flies is of key concern to us. So we're looking to I'd say move the needle on how we build fly boxes, what materials those fly boxes are made of, and at the end of the day, how they fit into the angler's pack.
Where does Montana Fly Company get its energy from and stay inspired to stay up to beat and stay in the forefront and always be inspiring to many anglers out there?
Yeah, of course, and that right, that is the overall essence of what energy. And I
But that's what you guys are doing. That's the image that I'm receiving when I look at your company. I look at your company, I look at your brand. It makes me happy. It makes other anglers happy. It's a great focus and it's a great
and we've been
energy.
asked that. I appreciate the question. We've been asked that so many times. What is it that's why does the brand seem like it's more a little bit more fun than than just say other brands,
The competitors, yeah.
and why do I want to be a part of this? I don't even
Hmm.
understand it. We've heard that quite a bit, and we feel very very humbled and fortunate to have people feel that way about us. I would say that it's obviously much more important to hear people talk about us than us talk about ourselves, right? That's always been something that we try to be very cognizant of. But I have no doubt it's strictly the people that we work with. It's the people that make up Montana Fly Company itself, as well, and equally a part of that are our partners, our artists, our designers, and our dealers. I mean, when you have a group of people that love what they do and love the sport that we're in, let's just face it. We're not building insurance packages and then having to sell it. We're building flies
Yeah.
and fishing accessories. So when you get a shipment of product or samples, or you're in the midst of R&D floating through generation 1, 2, and 3 of a sampling process, when all 4 or 5 people that are involved in making these decisions get together and start geeking out like 10-year-olds, yeah, you know that you're in the right place. And I feel that really answering your question is where our energy comes from. It's the people that we work with absolutely love the sport and being outside, and this business lets us do both.
Definitely the team over there is great, and I also feel just from myself and from our company with you guys, I just feel like we're relatable. Do you know what I mean? Like that, like I can relate to you guys. I have the same experiences, and I think the other listeners can relate as well. Like it's just that relatable. It's that great warm feeling. So it's awesome. Jake, I did want to ask you, and this is the question that I ask all my guests on our show here. If there's one thing that you could change within the fly fishing industry, what would that one thing that you could change be?
I wouldn't pose it as a change, but I would say if there was one place we could really push the fly fishing industry forward, it would be to make sure that every person that felt they wanted to, you know, dabble in fly fishing, whether it's actually fish or cast a fly rod or just be a part of it in some way, that person could walk into you know, any retailer and absolutely feel like they have access to it. So I would say access to the knowledge, access to information, and access to someone that can help that person get into the sport. Um, I'm not sure if that's a great way to answer it, but I would say, if anything, just moving our industry forward to make sure that anyone that wanted to try this thing that they hear about or see, whether it's on TV or social media, that's, you know, called fly fishing, that they're able to hop into a spot, feel extremely comfortable asking all the basic questions, and having access to giving it a shot.
You know what, Jake? I think that's fantastic, actually, as well. So, and it would move the industry forward if we could get to, you know, everyone on board to that stage. So, you know, with that said, I can't follow it up. So, I'm gonna I want to thank you, Jake, for being our guest today on the show, and I want to thank the listeners as well. So, Jake, do you have any last minute words for anybody out there listening?
Well, I just want to thank every single one of your listeners that has supported us by buying any of our products, or will, you know, in the future. Everything that we do revolves around people like you guys, and of course the dealers that you find our products in. So we want to give you a very sincere thank you from the bottom of everyone's heart at Montana Fly Company.
Perfect. And Jake, where can we find Montana Fly Company?
You can find us at montanafly.com. On Instagram, you can find us at Montana Fly Company and at Montana Fly Co. for Facebook.
Perfect. And right there, they can reach out to you guys. So I'll make sure I put all that in the show notes. So, all right. Thank you, Jake, for being our guest.
It was a pleasure, Greg. Thanks for having me on.